technology is worth the price we have to pay. And we might lose a couple of species along the way if we can't eat them, ride them, pet them, use them, or hunt them down for sport. There ain't no cause to keep them. There's an awful lot of wood out there that no one ever sees. Yeah, we can save the forest, but do we need so many trees? 'Cause we can cut them, haul them, sell them, and make some greenbacks while the environmentalists are sleeping. And when it's all gone, when it's all gone, when it's all gone, don't worry, 'cause we can find another planet. When it's all gone, when it's all gone, when it's all gone, don't worry, 'cause we can find another planet. This tree keeps the economy running well, and naturally there are certain waste products expelled. If we can't burn it, fry it, hide it, deny it, or shoot it into space, we can always dump it in the ocean. When it's all gone, when it's all gone, when it's all gone, don't worry, 'cause we can find another planet. When it's all gone, when it's all gone, when it's all gone, don't worry, 'cause we can find another planet. When it's all gone, all gone, all gone. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a damn good thing our rockets can make it to the moon. 'Cause the way this worm is turning, we're gonna need those suckers soon. First we need bombers, missiles, hubs, and satellites. I think we just ran out of money. All gone, all gone, all gone. Don't worry, 'cause we can find another planet. When it's all gone, all gone, all gone. Don't worry, 'cause we can find another planet. When it's all gone, all gone, all gone.
Good morning. My name is Colleen Grusk. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. The pronouns I use for myself are she, hers. I want to tell you just a bit about myself. I've been attending UUCW for about 6 years. I'm also a member of the choir and the library committee. We are delighted to see those of you who are in person at this service. Don't forget to catch up on the sermons you may have missed on our YouTube channel. And hello to all of you watching online as well. I want to draw your attention to a few announcements. You can enter a joy or concern using the QR code that's in your order of service. You can use that with your phone. You can also write them on the green sheets of paper that you hopefully received when you came in. You can email Reverend Denise as well. Black Lives Are Sacred Milwaukee is holding a rally and witness event in support of racial justice today from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. at Hart Park in Wauwatosa. Anyone is welcome to join as the march gets underway. They welcome everyone to this family-friendly event. If you are newer here, you can send us an email and tell us a bit about yourself. We would love to hear what you are seeking. You can email us at visitor@uucw.org. Again, that's visitor@uucw.org. We would love to connect with you. And if there's someone you haven't seen here in a while, you can get in touch with them and ask them to meet you at church. We're missing a few households. Some of you have already been contacting folks, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Colleen. I hope you caught this week in the e-news, I wrote a lot about who's attending and how many people are attending. And there's at least 70 of you out there online right now, every week. And those of you in the room keep growing. That doesn't change. So when you think of who's here, it's a lot more than who's here. Earth Day is like a high holy day in Unitarian Universalism. We celebrate it like the way others celebrate the 4th of July or Christmas. So today we welcome all of you religious naturalists, earth lovers, environmentalists, granola crunchy green loving, hemp wearing, food preserving recyclers of every slip of paper, haul your own bags to the grocery store, cloth diapering, reuse every scrap of paper, no mow may, solar loving, composting, tree planting, gardening, CSA loving, gray water reusers, cloth napkin users, bulk buying, carpooling, reusable water bottle, bike riding, 100% post-consumer waste, organic loving greenies. Whoever you are, from wherever you come, however you recycle, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, however you define family, you are welcome. The identities you hold, however you define family, you are welcome here. Your pronouns are respected and welcome here. Whatever the color of your skin, the language your grandparents spoke, the cultures that move in your being, the abilities and disabilities you hold, even if we can't see them. We welcome you. Whatever you believe, whatever your theology, prayer, or sacrament, even if none at all, we welcome you. We unite in Unitarian Universalist principles. We are a community of communities, spiritual seekers taking on action, called to do the work of justice, united in our covenants and the spirit of love. We welcome all of you. Please join us now in singing from your teal hymnal, hymn number 1068, Rising Green. The words and music are by Carolyn McDade, and it's performed by awesome Kaleidoscope. Rise and body your spirit.
There you go. Rise and body your spirit. Knew that was coming.
My blood doth rise in the roots of My foot carries days of the old into new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our faith settles deep in the earth, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day.
I'm Elmuth Sophie, and I'm a member of the Earth Ministry team. And for all you greenies out there, we invite you to come join us in the community room for coffee, conversation, and finding out ways that you can help our Earth. This morning's chalice lighting words are by Florence Simmons, and please read along. And if you're joining us at home, feel free to light your candle or your chalice. We light this chalice, the orderly processes of the universe, which hold the planets in their orbits and control the activities of microscopic cells, to honor the pervading, impartial forces of nature through which destruction is made constructive, to honor the ever-changing beauty of the natural world, which brings joy and inspiration to many people. We believe in the healing power of nature, without which all living things would be at great jeopardy. We believe in the profound lessons of nature teaches us.
Let me tell you about the empty cup. There once was a very wise and revered teacher whose students came from all over the land to learn, to grow. One day, a very important person decided that she would study with this teacher, in case there was something more that she could learn as well. So she traveled to the teacher's home, sat down, and presented herself. You've probably heard of me. You probably know about my accomplishments and all the things that I've done and my reputation as a very important person. The teacher began by offering a cup of tea. Gratefully, the VIP accepted. When the tea was ready, the teacher set it on the table and began to pour. At 3/4 of a cup, the VIP said, "That'll be enough, thank you." Yet the teacher continued to pour. When the cup was full, the new student said, "Please, that's enough, thank you." The teacher continued to pour, and the tea began to spill over onto the table, hot tea in her lap. And she said, "Enough, what are you doing? Why are you continuing to pour this tea? I said that's enough." The teacher calmly continued to pour and said, "I would love to teach you. It would be my great pleasure. But I'm afraid you are too much like this overflowing cup. In order for you to learn something new, you must first become empty." This story reminds us of the beauty and the possibility of awakening to each moment afresh, with new eyes, open to new insights, so that we can constantly be growing. This story inspired this song.
We've been giving you weekly updates on the stewardship campaign, and more than 70 of you have raised your pledge, which is amazing. Thank you. We also are quite a bit behind where we need to be, and this will be your last testimonial for the stewardship campaign. Sometimes we're brought together by tragedy, and as I've told you, a lot of the work that this congregation does you never hear about. So this is someone I'd like to introduce to you. Jennifer Blusk is daughter of former member Sue Morgan. Jennifer is not a member of this congregation, but you may have known her mom. Sue Morgan was a member here for many, many years, and Jennifer Blusk has a special message to share with us. Come on up, Jennifer. We've stayed in touch, and she has something she'd like to share.
Although Reverend Denise had never met me, she immediately reached out to me to offer her support after my mother's death by suicide on the Wauwatosa train tracks. I gratefully accepted her support. She composed a service in my mother's memory that did my mother's life justice and helped all of us say goodbye. The service helped us pull the weeds of self-doubt and anger that so frequently follow death by suicide. Reverend Denise led my sister and I through thoughtful, planned-out questions about my mother's life, which gave us a chance to reflect on the whole of her life, rather than focus on the painful last weeks. She was a supportive witness and coach to me during the challenges I experienced as I interacted by conference call with my estranged sister. She helped us sort out the stories when our memories of events did not match. As a result of the experience and skill of this congregation, I have been able to focus on growing my compassion for human suffering rather than getting stuck in grief and resentment. This painful time actually became a time of growth. I could not have done that by myself. I could not have been creative. I could not have been decisive in the midst of my shock. Without the kindness, support, and experience that only comes from people coming together in community, those days may have been a blur of police reports and relentless decision-making. I am giving to the church today because growth at such times only comes from the persistent cultivation of relationships in a community where knowledge, experience, and creativity come together to make new meaning and awareness happen. A community like this congregation. When the wind is at one's back, one tends to think there isn't any wind. This congregation was the wind at my back when my mother passed away, and I thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm really proud of you. And I'm really grateful that you allowed help, because relationship isn't relationship when it's one-sided. Appropriately so, this meditation is called My Loyal Friend by Patricia Fleming. I'm going to ring the chime when I'm done reading, and then I will give you a minute to reflect and ring the chime again to release you from the meditation. Outside my bedroom window stands an old, majestic tree. She's been there for decades, just as proud as she can be. Every morning when I wake, she's the first thing I see. This lovely constant in my life, so magnificent and free. I can see the early rising sun peeking through her lush green leaves. I can hear her moving gently in the summer's warm breeze. She has a personality, and she wants the world to see. Her moods are ever changing behind her silent dignity. She responds to every season in her own unfettered way. All we have to do is gaze at her to know what season's on its way. In the spring, she comes alive again as her leaves begin to bloom. And beneath the sun's attention, you can almost see her swoon. And in the heat of the summertime, when her joy is magnified, she's never looked more beautiful, all decked out to the nines. And when the fall comes creeping in, a chill floats in the breeze. She'd prefer to don more earthly tones and do just what she pleases. But when the winter's looming large, it's impossible to hide as her barren limbs droop soulfully. They betray her grief inside. She's stood by me through all my days. She's watched me laugh and cry. She's listened so intently while I've pondered on my life. And when I see her dark and weary, I will sit with her sometimes, and all the years we've shared together will come rushing back to mind. But both of us are strong and true. We've become the closest friends, and we will weather every storm till the end.
Bend, little willow, wind's gonna blow you hot and cold tonight. Life as it happens, nobody warns you, willow, hold on tight. Nothing's gonna take your love, take your love away. No one's out to break your heart, it only seems that way. Hey, it's gonna follow. Time will heal your wounds. Grow to the heavens, now and forever, always came too soon. La 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 la, la 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 la. Oh, little willow. La 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 la, la 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 la. Nothing's gonna shake your love, take your love away. No one's out to break your heart, it only seems that way. Hey, when little willow, no one's gonna blow you hot and cold tonight. Life as it happens, nobody warns you. Willow, hold on tight. La la la, la la la. Oh, little willow.
Our reading this morning is Remember by Joy Harjo. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember the sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life, her mother's, and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of the universe. Remember you are all people, and all people are you. Remember you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember language comes from this. Remember the dance language is that life is. Remember. Now, please rise as you're willing and able and join us in singing along with the band, hymn number 1064, which is in the Teal hymnal.
Standing on these mountains and plains.
casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in a beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. Read the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home.
I said I can't imagine being that tall. So some of you noticed my hands that I got done in henna today for the sermon today. You can look at them later. Sue Morgan was a Buddhist, and I didn't even realize the coincidence. I told Jennifer the other night, I said, you won't believe what I'm preaching on the day you're coming. Now I need to admit something to you. I think it's my responsibility as a minister to preach on things whether I like them or not, and whether they're my favorite or not, because I think I owe you different theologies and different lessons and things like that. And Buddhism is like okay, but kind of drives me nuts. It's like I don't really groove on it, you know? And my sweetheart, Reverend Matt, loves making Buddhist jokes that make me salty. Now, keep in mind, Reverend Matt studied with Thich Nhat Hanh, and he loves dad jokes. So you know what's the worst? Buddhist dad jokes. Like one day he said, I have the perfect gift to give you for your birthday. And I said, oh, that's great. I know you're not really into gift giving. What are you getting me? And he said, nothing. All right, you know, we discuss ministry all the time, like we're total geeks about it. And I said, do you think it's okay to reply to that by email, or do you think I should call them? And he said, you can use email, but with no attachments. He was gardening the other day, and he's been making these new raised beds for me in the backyard, and he came running in and said, you won't believe what I found in the garden. And I said, what? And he said, carnations. I said, in Wisconsin? He said, yeah, but I didn't dig up the reincarnations. So there are lots of sutras, stories, and this one that I want to bring to you today is the lotus flower, the wonderful Dharma. And I'm going to start by telling you a story because today is Earth Day and we're celebrating Earth Day and especially our 7th principle that calls our attention to the interconnected web of existence. And I don't know about you, but I get a little depressed when I think about Earth Day. You know, I read all the articles that come up in the Washington Post and the New York Times because I'm a total news geek. And they paint a pretty grim picture of what's going on in the world. And usually Earth Day services, you know, are either super happy, here's the 800 things you can do, or they're super depressing, here's how terrible it is and there's no turning back. And I figured you probably had all those. So I thought, well, what would be a new perspective on Earth Day? And for me, I think this story from the Lotus Sutra, many consider the Lotus Sutra one of the most beautiful of all the Buddhist stories, the Lotus Sutra. And there's several stories within the Lotus Sutra. And so this one, we're going to focus on the trees in the forest and the beautiful flowers. And so anyway, I want to tell you this story because when I think about one of the most disgusting parts of Earth Day to me is when I think about America's coal and gas and how our consumption is more than any other person in the whole world. We are the most greedy people. We use the most of any other country. And we use 21% of the world's energy. Isn't that gross? Our country thinks we're that important. And, you know, when Obama was president, he signed the Paris Agreement, and he was leaving office with this plan to address climate change. And then Donald Trump's abandoned all that agreement, and it had been signed by 195 other nations. Like, there was hardly anyone that didn't sign on to this and realize it was a good idea. And so now President Biden has announced this new target for the United States to achieve 50 to 52% reduction from 2000 levels of greenhouse gases. And, you know, he has all these ideas that'll help American workers and all these ways that it'll position us to attack the climate crisis. And I sure hope the next leader doesn't undo it. And I am afraid. And today on Earth Day, I want to call to you to think about us as citizens of the world, not citizens of America. So we're trying to get back on track, but much of the progress is now also being distracted by stuff going on in the Ukraine, right? Because we're worried we're going to have World War III. And so all this rampant consumption and human infestation, because the earth doesn't need us. We need the earth, but the earth doesn't need us. And so I want to offer you this way to look at yourselves and new sources of inspiration too as you consider consumption. Because money issues of pollution and issues where we think about recycling, really we need large corporations and government to really make a huge impact. And yet we know from all the emergent studies that I've been bringing to you, right, that small is all, and small does make a difference. And for example, today the Earth Ministry team has stuff in your order of service, ideas and tips. And recently, several UUCW members and I were talking about shopping bags. And we were just talking about, you know, oh, is it the issue that not everyone remembers their bag or they don't have enough bags? And I'm like, I have so many bags, I give them away at Aldi. Like, I don't need any more bags. It's not the bags. I think if someone really wants bags, they'll bring bags. But if everyone considers it too inconvenient, they won't bring bags, right? And so we have to decide, is our need for convenience more important than the rest of the world? And that's just a tiny example, right? But small steps really do add up. And so today for inspiration, I'm going to tell you the story of the Lotus Sutra, of the flower. And I hope that this parable of plants will maybe speak to you. So, and all of the art is my art. So on the ground, we could see dry cracks. It had not rained in a really long time. This was like the winter here, all right? The trees tried to reach for the sky for more sun and water, and the strong, bright sun made the plants try to, find their way. But, the plants and trees were trying to avoid what worried them, not getting enough light, not getting enough water. They tried to reach down with their roots for more water. Their leaves kept trying to say, "Sun, over here, come to me." So it was a really hot day, and the sunlight was strong, and it baked the ground dry. And then a dense cloud spread across the whole sky, enveloping the entire world. And rain poured down everywhere in the same way. And throughout the world, there were various types of plants and trees. But the rain fell on all of them equally and moistened the ground all over the world. The clouds spread across the whole sky. These big, moist clouds covered the whole world. And the rain poured down, and some rain went on every single plant and tree. It equally dampened the grounds, right? Everywhere thing was touched by nourishing water. Each plant and tree and fern and flower was touched by the rains, and the rains filled up the basins and the oceans and the lakes, and the rivers rose up. Nothing was spared water. Each flower, each bug, each fish, each leaf and blade of grass, everything, all the animals, they all received rain. The ground all over the world was moist, and the roots were filled with water, and they grew deeper, and they were just flush, right? Large and medium and small trees were growing on the earth, and the ferns, even in the understory, that was all watered too. Roots and stalks and branches and leaves and fruits and flowers. And even though they receive rain from the same cloud impartially, the amount of moisture each of them takes differs according to their size and kind. A large tree needs a lot of moisture, while a small herb needs just a little bit. Each of them grow and mature according to their own nature. They bloom and they process fruits. None are taking more than they need. A large tree has its own role in the forest, and so does a small tree. A small tree is not inferior to the large one. All plants and trees live their lives to the fullest. They're all doing the best they can according to their own innate nature. And as everyone performs their own role, the world becomes alive, right? They're all receiving blessings of the rain equally. And they're all like shining. They're like flamboyant. They're like, woohoo, I'm beautiful. Their color is bright. The plants seem to dance with joy and sun and rain, and in fact, they seem to generate love. They're beaming, right? Their love beams are flowering with delight, and each plant glistens. And the sunbeams seem to spark rainbows all around the plants. The cloud was impartial. It showed no favoritism to any living thing. The amount of moisture each received was based on the need of that plant, its size, the type, and the amount it required. A tiny herb needed less than the big trees, right? A flowering bulb needed more water than a fly. Every tree had a purpose. The large tree gives us shade. The small tree often sends nutrients up to the large tree. Their roots intertwine. The big trees aren't more important. than the small ones. They each have a specific purpose in the larger community. Every plant has a unique nature. Each has its role in the ecosystem. So just like every person has a unique role in the greater community, every plant must fulfill their role, or we will have to use artificial means to try to imitate what the plant does best. Nothing is as good as thriving in the community of living things. So what does this mean to us? In the Lotus Sutra, the lotus has there's many books, right? Not tons, but there's I think 7. In this story, the dried, baked ground and the strong sunlight indicates that we may live amongst worries and suffering. In Buddhism, we cannot escape suffering. Now, the Buddha, also known as Siddhartha Gautama, was born around 2,500 years ago in Nepal. And his teachings and understanding of the world are widely accepted as the foundations of Buddhism. And the first noble truth, there's 4, is the idea that everyone suffers. You're not getting out of it. You can't avoid it. That suffering is part of the world. And Buddhists believe in the cycle of birth, life, death, rebirth. So this means that all people will experience suffering many times over. You're not going to get out of it, all right? So instead, you have to accept that it's there. And I don't know about you, but this is really challenging for me. I don't want to see my loved ones suffer or harmed or hurt. How do we come to accept that suffering? I love the show called The Midwife. Do any of you watch that? There's this one character, Fred, and Fred is always having to console his wife who's doing whatever she can to keep their son from having any suffering. And I think of them as like that force in Buddhism of like, no, I don't want any suffering. He can't suffer. Honey, he's gonna suffer. We just have to help him through it, you know? So how can I shape my own spiritual practices to accept pain and suffering? Now, this is where Buddhism drives me nuts. Doesn't that just suck rocks? I just don't like that. In many ways, the problems of our earth cannot be addressed without acceptance. Pretty much the problems of anything can never be addressed without being accepted, right? That's all about what we try to do in ministry. No one likes it when you know, we're talking about truths, or that's what we do in life. That's why we go to therapy. We're all trying to accept what the real problems are so that then we can work on them. So you're Buddhist when you're trying to do that. The second noble truth is the concept that something causes suffering to happen. And the Buddha taught that people need to understand the cause of suffering in order to move forward and leave it behind. So you can't just accept it, you have to understand the cause. And so the Buddha believed that most suffering is caused by a tendency to crave or desire things. So keep this in mind when you think about Americans using 21% of the world's resources. We crave and desire more than others. Thus, we bring more suffering to the world than others. A person might crave something nice to eat, or desire to go on a nice holiday, or earn lots of money. And Buddhism teaches us that through being dissatisfied with their lives and craving things, people suffer. So as we think of the suffering in our planet, isn't all the harm a result of cravings and desires and wanting more and more and more things? Maybe the way to heal the earth is to want less lights on, to want less to go places. Maybe it is to travel less by planes and use trains instead. Or perhaps we must reduce our need to have things immediately. If we wanted less red meat, for example, there would be less need for factory farms. Maybe if we didn't crave strawberries in December, we wouldn't need as many trucks or planes bringing strawberries in from South America and Mexico. The third noble truth is knowing that suffering can end. Buddhists must recognize that there is a way to stop the suffering and move away from it, because by doing this, you can get closer to reaching enlightenment. So can we move away from using as much gas? Can we stop using as many plastics, or by buying things in bulk? Could we find more pleasure in things like writing poems or making art or gardening or telling stories or playing musical instruments, as opposed to hobbies that are perhaps harder on the earth? Or maybe we feel called to downsize or have smaller properties to maintain or get roommates or share a car. The fourth noble truth is that there is a way to end the suffering. Buddhists can do many things to end suffering. And we can just do these things, even if we don't claim Buddhism as part of our spiritual beliefs. So following Buddha's teachings, by meditating, we can examine what things we crave. What do we think we need so much of, right? And one thing I love about Buddhism, I know, right, is it kind of reminds me a little bit of queer theology. Because queer theology says that the answer is never yes or no. The answer is never the binary, right? The answer is always some other creative solution. I love that. And Buddhism really professes about the middle way, that this path falls between two extremes of luxury and poverty. I love that. So, back to the parable of the flowers and the trees. The large cloud that came over the whole world is symbolizing Buddha, and the blessed rain representing his teachings. And the plants and trees are waiting for the rain, and we're awaiting something to quench our thirst, that thirst we have in our hearts. Okay? So, the different teachings are saying everything deserves an equality to it, right? People have different characteristics and abilities. The circumstances they grew up in is different, and they can accept the teachings in different ways, but we can all grow in proportion to our respective nature and abilities. The roots and stalks and branches and leaves symbolize faith, precepts, meditation, and wisdom, respectively. Roots, the vital parts of plants and trees, they symbolize faith. And because we have faith, we can keep the precepts or the rules that people take refuge in the Buddha's teachings. And keeping the precepts, in turn, brings us to a state of meditation in which we can concentrate on the truth and do not waver. That state of meditation helps us stay ourselves, right? However strong our roots may be, plants will eventually die, and their branches and leaves will wither, and their stalks might be cut. And we know that that makes compost so that they can grow again, right? And if we get into permaculture, there's all kinds of things we can say about that. Religious practice begins with faith and culminates in wisdom by way of the precepts, the meditation, and all four aspects of religious practice. So just as there is a difference in the size of the plants, right, there are all kinds of differences amongst all of us and characteristics in our abilities. And so our goal is to help each one of us, to help one another reach our full potential. We are just like the plants and trees. We grow from the same soil. We live one life. We are sustained by compassion. We have superficial differences to one another, but we're all equal. We're supposed to all be equal. So, while some people receive the Buddha's life and love equally, it's important to know what kind of roles we have and to perform those roles in the world with the best of our abilities. And that's about practicing the bodhisattva way, because in the Lotus Sutra, we can all be bodhisattvas. We can all receive those blessings that's symbolized in these stories of the flowers, right? So we're symbolizing fruits in the story and flowers, and we have to practice the way. And so on this Earth Day weekend, how can we look at this parable of plants and trees and use it to inspire receiving the Buddha's compassion? Think about it, it's up to you. But speaking of compassion, you know, we ordered pizza the other day at my house, and Reverend Matt came in, and he asked if I had more change for the pizza delivery person. He wanted to give them a generous tip. And I said, "You need change for a tip? I have a tip for you." No. Change comes from within, honey. So let us help each other receive the Buddha's compassion. Live with your full potential. This is your Dharma, your inherent nature. We all can be bodhisattvas. Like the flowers and the trees, we each have a purpose. None of us are superior to another. In fact, we are all interdependent. And we are that phenomenon of interdependence and part of the UU principle of the interdependent web of existence. So go out and live your full potential. This is your Dharma.
Split the Plate is one of UUCW's programs of outreach and generosity. Each month, we give half of our undesignated offering monies to a nonprofit organization as a way to help us live our Unitarian Universalist values and to serve our community. For April, our Split the Plate partner is Project Return Milwaukee. Terry Woodley became involved with Project Return in 1995 when program volunteers came to the Milwaukee Women's Correction Center for a social and to let folks know about Project Return. She developed a strong relationship with her case manager, who eventually got her working with the Adult Center at Cross Lutheran. Terry recounts, "I met a lot of good women there who nurtured my spiritual growth." She has been a volunteer at the church in a number of capacities over the years. Eventually, she became a Project Return case manager, where she finds great joy in providing clients with the same love and support that she received when she came through the door. Terry is a continuing success story for Project Return, as well as their office manager. Here is Terry expressing her way of seeing the people she helps every day.
We don't treat people like they're a criminal. We treat people like they are humans. Because a lot of places you go to, you see cages and you see all these bars and you see all this standoff stuff where we don't want these people touching us. We don't really want to get involved with them. We embrace these clients because these clients are human beings.
Project Return's good work needs our financial support. So please, make your Split the Plate donation today. You can text and donate online or mail your contribution with the information found here. We thank you for your generosity to Project Return. The offertory will now be gratefully received.
Thank you all. Before we extinguish our chalice today, I want to thank you for the generosity you give to our congregation. Thank you for calling friends and bringing them back to the community. Thank you for the green grass under our feet, a breath of clean air to breathe, and the ways we work together and commit to continuing to work for our earth here. Thank you to everyone who helped today, and hooray for the Earth Ministry team. Can all of you who are here from the Earth Ministry stand and wave so folks can talk to you after the service? Yay. And thank you to our amazing band. Our staff and the Board of Trustees. Thank you to all of you who have been giving so generously to our pledge drive. Thank you to all of those who are making calls and emailing people. You can also meet with me after the service to ask any questions you have or just to connect. I would love to meet with you.
Thank you, Colleen. Our benediction today was written by my favorite author of my Bible, Robin Wall Kimmerer. Action on behalf of life transforms because the relationship between the self and the world is reciprocal. It is not a question of first getting enlightened, saved, and then acting. As we work to heal the earth heals us too. Amen.
And this is definitely a sing-along, so please sing along with us. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, bop, 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 bop. Ooh, bop, 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 bop. Took all the trees, put them in a tree museum, and they charge the people $1.50 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, bop, 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 bop. Ooh, bop, 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 bop. Hey, farmer, farmer, put away that DDT now. Give me spots on my apples, but leave me the birds and the bees. Please, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, bop, 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 bop. Ooh, bop, 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 bop. Late last night, heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, bop, 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 bop. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, bop, 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 bop. Paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, bop, 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 bop. Paved paradise, put up a parking lot.